Hello everyone, good morning and welcome back to Sports Today. Now we always bring you this video every single day in the morning time for a very simple reason, because whilst you and I, all of us really need some of that important nighttime sleep, the world of sport never really stops moving. So what we're going to do is we'll catch you up on a few things that you may have missed out on whilst we were getting some rest. So without any further ado, let's get straight to it. Let's start with this man, Suryakumar Yadav, who was left pretty shocked by the Indian journalists who were at the press conference ahead of India's first T20I versus Australia. And he wasn't left stunned because of any major question or anything like that. He was left stunned by the fact that there were just two Indian journalists. Now, of course, there's a number of reasons why that could be the case. Maybe there's just plenty of fatigue from what was a very long ICC World Cup. Maybe there's still people who are, not quite ready to start covering cricket again, despite the fact that, you've just finished from a major tournament, so there's less turnout. And maybe it just is a little bit of an indication as to their public interest in this particular series. Right on the back of a World Cup heartbreak, the series, in hindsight at least, doesn't seem to be great as far as time is concerned. Nevertheless, the press conference, which we have covered in some detail on Sports Today, there's a video on that. Go ahead and check it out later on. Went on for about 4 minutes and saw both the journalists actually ask Sky multiple questions, to the point where both of them actually ended up running out of questions altogether. Definitely one of the more bizarre scenes, because again, Indian press conferences for the captain tend to often go on very long. In fact, you'd remember when Rahul Dravid came at one point during the World Cup, one press conference lasted over 30 minutes. This one lasted just 4. Talk about times changing. Another interesting bit of news from the ICC World Cup. Gautam Gambhir has now questioned the intent with which India batted during the final. Now, you remember that India was, of course, put into bat on what was a pretty tricky surface at that point in time in Ahmedabad. In the first innings, definitely wasn't very tricky, and India went through a time period where from over 11 to 40, they only scored like 3 or 4 boundaries. So it really wasn't very good. And Gambhir said that, look, in the 1990s, you might have been able to defend 240. Try to do so in 2023 is just not going to happen. I understand batting conditions were possibly not that easy, but you needed to be trying to take the attack to the opposition just a little bit more than what the players did. Bit of a dig definitely at the middle order, who definitely were not able to accelerate, but maybe he has a valid point. If you had taken those chances, maybe you would have broken the shackles and maybe you would have had more than 240 runs to defend. You don't really know everything now that we say, or Gambhir says, or what anyone says, is in hindsight, but that middle over choke that was applied by Australia definitely killed off any hopes that India had at that point in time. Kuldeep Yadav has now spoken out also, speaking of the World Cup final loss. He said that, look, we appreciate all the support that has come our way. He's put a lengthy, post out on his X account, now known as, or formerly known as Twitter, where he said that, we were really touched by all the support. Unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be. We did everything which we could. Maybe God's plan was different. We were really appreciative of all the support. And, it's not easy to be in this sort of position. We're still definitely feeling heartbroken, but life goes on, the sun rises. Again, it has been, by the way, a pretty consistent message from the Indian team. Of course, it's easy for the team to say that, but fans understandably are very, very impatient with the fact that 10 plus years now have passed without ICC success. So the sun technically still hasn't really risen at that point in time. Switching our focus now, still sticking to cricket news, but on franchise-based cricket, Rashid Khan, who has been one of the key players for the Adelaide Strikers in the Big Bash League, well, he won't be taking part in the BBL this year because he's pulled out due to a back injury that he sustained during the ICC World Cup. Now, the back injury is so bad that not only is he going to be not being able to play the BBL, he's going to be having to undergo surgery. So that's a bit unfortunate. We wish Rashid Khan the best of luck and hope that he recovers soon, comes back strong. And it's actually a big loss even for the Strikers, not only due to the fact that he was one of their best, most recognizable players, but also someone who brought in a lot of fanfare, definitely someone who draws in eyeballs, and someone who, through his big association with the franchise, actually ended up becoming a global star. So bit of a blow really, but the good news is that even though he's pulled out this year, they will have the option to retain him for next year, so he won't necessarily be going back into the draft pool. Switching our focus now from the world of cricket to the world of football and other sports beyond. Novak Djokovic has reiterated that despite experiencing a pretty successful 2023, which saw him win multiple Grand Slams as well as, of course, the ATP finals, he's not ready to give things up just yet, at least in terms of where it gets to, getting glory in this year. Right now, he's part of the Serbia team that are going to be playing in the Davis Cup semi-finals, and he said that, look, I do not intend resting until we bring the Davis Cup back home. That's a scary, scary thought. Djokovic, despite the fact that he's coming off a very long season, still fired up, still wanting extra glory. I say whoever comes in Serbia's way, beware, because this man has proven that if you have the appetite, then your body just tends to do strange things when it comes to getting the kind of glory that you want. A recent unfortunate event in the world of football saw, a Brazil-Argentina game's kickoff delayed by about 30 minutes due to the fact that there was some fan unrest, and the police actually ended up using batons on both sets of fans, particularly the Argentine fans. And FIFA President Gianni Infantino has now spoken on the violence and said that, look, stuff like this, there's no place for it in football. It shouldn't be happening, and people need to be more careful to ensure that this doesn't happen. That is true, and in fact, Lionel Messi after the game said that, this could have been an incident which had tragic consequences if it really went far enough and wasn't controlled quickly. But the fact that kickoff was delayed by half an hour shows that, they were actually lucky to avoid any major incident happening, and all that really happened was that the fan unrest was stoked on for a while, eventually cooled down, and the match could go ahead as planned. Indian football head coach, sticking to the world of football, Igor Stimac has actually once again let out his displeasure at the fact that he's not been able to prepare the Indian football team his way. Speaking after the loss to Qatar, which India ended up losing 3-0 in that particular FIFA World Cup qualifier, he said that, look, let's not have too many expectations for the upcoming Asian Cup. Remember, the Asian Cup, AFC Asian Cup, is going to be hosted in Qatar and starts in December and January of this particular year. So it's kind of in the 2 years, but of course that is normally the best time to be hosting any tournament in Qatar. And he said that, look, if we had the preparation we want, if we had a long camps and more matches, then I could have given you something. I didn't get what I want, so I can't give you any guarantees. It's yet the latest indication that Stimac is not very happy with how things are being run as far as the international or the national team is concerned. But the sad reality is that's pretty much how it's been everywhere for international team managers. You don't often tend to get a lot of time with these players. Whatever time you get, you need to make the most of it, because again, clubs are the ones who employ players. They're going to have first call and first right on the players. The only time a national team manager has them is during international break. So that's just how it's going to be, and it's unfortunate. Sure, you can understand his frustration, because again, if there is some degree of international success, then you could argue that, there would be more of an interest stoked among more casual non-football fans. But as of now, that doesn't seem like it's going to be happening. Last news item, definitely not the least. You remember this viral image from the FIFA Women's World Cup in Spain and won it when then Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales ended up kissing Jenny Hermoso without her consent, and as a result there was a major storm. People were very critical of Rubiales, and eventually he had to step down from his post. Well, Jenny Hermoso has now been called up to a court to testify and give her version of the events that took place. You remember that Hermoso was in fact the one who had not only lodged a complaint but spoken out and said that she didn't feel very comfortable with what transpired. Right now there is a restraining order against Rubiales for her. They can't be within a certain distance of each other, and that's down to, of course, the action that Hermoso took. Hopefully Hermoso makes a good statement and this matter is dealt with swiftly, because again, it was very unfortunate if you're looking at it not just from a footballing perspective but even from a human perspective. Stuff like this shouldn't be happening in modern society, yet sadly it does. And that's it from this edition of the Morning Wrap with Sports Today. Thank you guys so much for joining us. If you enjoy our work, please don't forget, like, share, subscribe, tap that bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Don't forget to download the SportsTech app, and if you're already on the channel, go right ahead, check out some other videos we've done, and stay tuned, we have plenty more coming your way. For now though, from my side, it's goodbye.